In this video, I'm taking a trip out to Paris and New York City and bringing you along for a bunch of photos with my Leica M4-2 and my Leica M6, which I would show you here, but it breaks later on in this video, so it's at the repair shop currently. Anyway, this is very much a street photography focused video, which is where my mind has been at recently when it comes to taking pictures. I don't consider myself a street photographer by any means. For the last 10 years, I've been much more focused on landscape photography, but over the past 2 years, I certainly have caught a real bug when it comes to being out on the street. And even in Los Angeles here, when I'm photographing events or I'm at the racetracks that I'm doing a project on, I find myself working at a faster, more candid pace, kind of in the way of the street. So I figured it was time for me to put in some hours and a ton of steps out on the streets. I'm going to start this video off in Paris. When we got to Paris, we found ourselves there in a heat wave. It was insanely hot, over 100 degrees. That's about 40 degrees Celsius. It was so hot. There was one day of the week where there was literally nobody outside, and then the following few days, as it cooled down, Paris was incredibly busy, and it made for some really cool opportunities for photos. We walked probably 30,000 steps or more every single day that we were there. I don't think we even took a train or a bus once. We walked absolutely everywhere in Paris for the whole week, and it just made for some really cool opportunities to come across things to photograph, especially with the heat wave. It absolutely looks like the middle of summer in the photos, and I really like that about it. The energy on the street there was amazing. I absolutely want to go back to Paris for more photography specifically, because this was kind of a vacation. I wasn't really in a photo mindset, but I still ended up shooting a ton of photos just because of how lively the street was there. In Paris, I also ended up hanging out with my friend Austin Auggie. He has an incredible YouTube channel here, which I'll link down below, and we walked around together for a couple hours in the city, which was a ton of fun to catch up there and shoot some photos. Street photography has been an incredible new avenue for me, maybe not even because of the photos, but the experience of it is just incredible. I love having a camera with me every single day now, and it's like if I leave my house without the camera, I feel naked. And to be honest, I love walking and just looking around as much as I do photography, and maybe the photography is just a good excuse for it, to kind of just walk all day, get 30,000 steps in, and you know, as a nice little bonus, you get some photos out of it. I don't really know where this is going to go or where it fits into my work as a photographer, if this is something I'm going to continue long term, but for right now, I just know it feels really good, and I'm having a ton of fun doing it. On the 4th of July, which is a big holiday in America, we flew back to the United States and saw some fireworks that evening in a small beach town in New Jersey. and from there on I stayed in New Jersey, but I actually spent most of my times going across the water by a ferry to New York City because I was on such a street photography high from Paris and I wanted to shoot more. Now, New York City is interesting because I used to live there. I lived there for 5 years. I went to college there for 2 years and then dropped out. And while I lived there, I never took photos in Manhattan or Brooklyn. I would always venture out to New Jersey, to the suburbs, to the beach towns to photograph those. And now coming back, I feel like because I have had 5 years being away from New York City, I see it with a fresh set of eyes. And a lot of the times in photography, that can be an advantage, I think. I had a ton of fun and I spent quite a few days just walking until my legs couldn't walk anymore, taking as many pictures as I could. I got to hang out with some friends there as well. I met up with Paulie and Kazu to walk around and take some pictures. We walked through Central Park. I highly recommend Paulie's channel, which if you're interested in street photography, you've surely seen already. And Kazu's work is incredible as well. He's doing a project on Central Park, which I find incredibly gorgeous.
One bites the dust.
Eat. One of the easiest ways for me to get into the city is the Staten Island Ferry, which is this really cool boat that you can take for free, and I ended up taking a decent amount of photos on it. There's quite a lot of people, especially on hot touristy days, and I thought that was a really fun experience as well, especially considering it was just part of the route to get into New York City to begin with. Unfortunately, at this point, my Leica M6 did break. Something went wrong with the shutter speed dial where it felt very loose, but clicking over an actual shutter speed felt just very crunchy and there was a lot of resistance. Something was very wrong in there, and although thankfully the camera did keep working at the shutter speed that I set it to, which was 1/500th, a friend who's a camera technician advised that I should no longer shoot with it because I'm probably just going to keep breaking it further. So I sent it off for repair, and thankfully I did have my Leica M4-2 with me, which I actually just got back like a week before the trip to Paris from Red Dot Repair. They did a full CLA and service on it and made some small repairs as well to things that were broken, like the viewfinder. This camera feels better than it ever has. The viewfinder is clearer, the rewind feels better, the shutter sounds more consistent. I just want to say a huge shout out to Red Dot for fixing this camera. And I feel very confident in this one, unlike my M6, which I had no idea on the service history of. So I continued on without a light meter, which really wasn't a huge deal, especially midday. It's quite easy to shoot just a 500th at f11 or 16 on Portra 400. So that was my settings for most of the trip. I lived here for like 5 years and I never took photos during those 5 years. I mean, like very rarely of the actual city itself. I would always travel out to Jersey, but now I'm back and I don't know if it's my time away, but it just feels so good. I'm so happy to be here, and now all I want to do is shoot. So I'm stoked. Gonna try and spend probably the next couple days as well here shooting. I'm gonna walk to Union Square now and probably all the way up to the park and just see what today has in store. One thing I do find difficult about making these videos is that with street photography specifically, especially when I'm solo, it's difficult to get footage that associates with the images that I'm sharing in the photos because they're such quick moments, and often I'm trying to be a little bit more unnoticed, if you will. So it's not something where I can necessarily get footage to associate with my images. So in future videos at events, you'll see me using a GoPro on top of the camera with a little 3D printed mount I made. But yeah, I'm curious to hear if you guys have any input on that. There's going to be a ton more street photography videos coming this summer. I spent a ton of time in the Outer Banks this year again, but shooting in a very different way than I have in previous years. And I've also been photographing some events out here in Los Angeles, like the Lifeguard Nationals that happened this month. And I've been working on a series about some very specific racetracks out here as well. So look out for those videos. Before I wrap it up, I want to say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring the channel. Squarespace is an incredible all-in-one website building platform that you can use to build your photography portfolio online. I've been using Squarespace for so many years now, and they've made it so easy to get a website up and running with my photography. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can hit the link in my description for a 14-day free trial of Squarespace. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Willem for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. I'll see you guys next week with another video. Thank you for watching. Peace.